Well, howdy folks, and welcome to another fun day at the 3D printing farm. Yeah. Okay, right before we get into all this, I am going to address some more of the issues and comments and questions about the situation with Bambu Lab, because there's a lot to look at, and there was some interesting comments made that I kind of want to address them. And also I wanted to show you guys, some of the tips and tricks that I use around the 3D printing farm as it is. But also I wanted to show you this product here, because this is sort of one of those things. It's a game changer for shipping. And if you have a store on Shopify, or you do Etsy or online business with any online, eBay, Mercari, Amazon, whatever you do, when you start shipping, one of the problems you're going to run into is making labels. So I label like iPhone, yeah. It's not Apple though. Sent us over this little thermo labeler, and it's actually a really cool little machine, and it runs the cost way down. And the reason I say that is because this is the way I was doing my labeling. I kind of covered the addresses up a little bit to keep the people offline here, but was using a full sheet of paper, running it through a commercial HP machine, but you're using ink, you're using toner ink. And also I was using a full sheet of paper, plus having to tape the thing on afterwards. And that's this is really going way back. Been doing this for years, but really shouldn't be doing it. I know, but it was like I just did not feel good about these labeling machines, and I finally got a hold of one and said, okay, let's try it. So they sent it over, and again, I'll just put my fingers over that or something, but there's their label, and it's awesome. It saves so much money. In fact, I'll give you a quick rundown. This one here, in its day, when I calculated it, it was costing as much as 23 cents per label to make the label. And that doesn't sound like much, but when you're shipping out hundreds or thousands of products, this can add up to a lot of extra money going out the door that doesn't have to be. One of these labels, and again, let's see if I can cover the address thing. One of these labels like this, it uses a thermal printer. I did the math on it, and it was 0.018, which is like not even quite 2 cents per label. And this will create 650,000 labels before it's wore out. It's done. And I've got 2 rolls of these, which is, I think they're 250 labels per spool. So I have 2 spools of these to run through the machine. And it's real simple. You just, it's just kind of it's not quite plug and play, but once you set it up, and let's see if I can do this. You can get your label in. And this is a really nice, easy label to use. I mean, you just lay your label down, and when we turn it on, it's going to set up for the first label. And we're going to push this button here, and it's going to, boom, now it's all set and ready to go. So that label right there is ready to be, ripped off, and of course the sticky back. So you're no longer using tape, you're not using toners, you're not doing anything. All you're doing now is just taking this, just slapping it on, ready to go. But also there's a lot of other labels you can make. So it's a really interesting, it's a really good machine. This is by iLabel. There will be a link in the description below where you can find this. Now, I use Apple, and so I had to download the drivers for the machine. I'm going to just give you a quick tip. It might help, it may not. If you have an Apple and you have any problem with your thermal labelers, use the Bluetooth and look at the Bluetooth address and cut that and copy it and put that into, when you go into advanced settings for your printers, and it asks you where on the internet, where in the Wi-Fi side of this thing, where is this printer, you can use that as an address, and generally with the Apple, it will find it at that point and connect. And this particular one, matter of fact, uses a USB. It does not print over Wi-Fi. I just wanted to make sure that's clear, because I thought it could, and it was like, no, you can't. You still need to use the USB, but it's a game changer, and it's a huge money saver. So we thank iLabel gang for sending that over. Description link below, and let's get into this hot topic about tips. This is sort of a tip in itself, that you really need to look at this if you're going to be, seriously shipping stuff out for from a 3D printing farm. For labeling, yeah, you got to have it. You just got to do it. We're going to go over to the 3D printers, and I'm going to show you some of the crazy stuff, you know, my day-to-day stuff. Yeah, 3D printing farm stuff. One of the things that I really quickly discovered, as you get your filament in, it always comes, it seems like it doesn't matter who you buy, but you get some pretty good boxes. And this is from UJoy Bio, which they have these really nice shipping boxes. And really what you should do is keep the box, so I do, I keep them, you know, and set them aside. And that way, if we sell something on like Etsy or something and we need to box it up, we have boxes right here for free. I mean, they're just going to be garbage otherwise. I use a heat gun and heat this label up, just peel it off, peel this label off kind of thing, strip the box down a little bit, put some tape over this after it's packed, put the fresh label on, and send it back out if that's, you know, drop it off at the post office, whatever. So these are something, you don't want to be throwing these boxes away. Keep piling them up if you're going to be selling on like Etsy or eBay, Amazon, whatever. But they're really handy, and they're, you know, let's face it, you bought the filament, this stuff just came with it, so it's free. Tip number 2, I've sort of covered this before, but I keep these Microsoft towels around, and I leave one on top of the bed like this when I'm not using the machine, especially in a garage-like environment or any kind of dusty, dirty environment. That way the bed is nice and fresh every time we get to start. We take the cloth off and just start printing, and it keeps the bed really good. But the other side of the situation too is when it gets cold, like in wintertime right now around here, this garage can drop into like 30 degrees. So when it's finished printing, I'll put 2 of these Microsoft cloths over the product and let it cool down underneath this, and it'll stabilize it and let it cool down evenly and, so, you know, and slowly. And the reason I do that is so the product doesn't warp or get, you know, misformed or anything. And I find it works. So, like, you know, there's, it would be nice to have an enclosed machine, but this is 420 by 420 sized build plate, and I use it because of the size. That's why the machine's here, you know, and it's also fast, which, you know, is a big plus. But that's one of the problems I do have. I don't like bed slingers generally, especially like this where they're open air kind of thing. So that was my way to, you know, at least solve that part of the problem, which is, it's great. Another little crazy tip that I do is around all the machines, I bought, you know, like you get like a dozen of these little cheap toothbrushes from like Dollar General for a bag full or something, and I keep them around the machines, and I use them to help scrape off any junk that's building up on the nozzles before printing. And also sometimes you get a little something on the bed or something, and you can use the brush, you know, in this case this, because you don't want to get your oil off your skin. You don't want to get anything contaminating those plates if you can help it. So I use just a cheap toothbrush. A brass brush is actually really good too, but I just find these are cheap. They grab the filament really good, and like almost like a magnet, and you can just pull the junk away. And I just keep them handy around all the machines. That way I don't, you know, I don't have to look for something to, you know, try to get it off the plate if there's a problem. The next thing I was going to point out was I have 6 different machines sitting here. And that is 6 different brand name machines sitting here in the shop out in the garage right now that help me to produce the parts I need. I also have some in the house. In fact, there's going to be another machine put here shortly, and I believe it's going to be an Anycubic. It'll probably be the Cobra 3 or something that'll be set here, because I'm pretty impressed with this one. This one has really been a nice little game changer for us for what we needed. But this brings about a question. I just got to ask you guys, see if I can get a comment about it. But if you're going to start a 3D printing farm and you're going to buy one machine, what machine would it be? And I'm going to think that most answers are probably going to be a Bambu Lab machine. And that would be fine for an answer. I can accept that, you know, yeah. The thing is, the stuff that I make, like this, you know, a lot of the high-end, good dollar product, I need a big build plate, you know, and Bambu Lab at this point has gone to the mini, you know, instead of making a bigger machine, which I think in February they're supposed to be coming out with a large plate machine. I don't know what size it is, but we needed somewhere around 370 millimeter or better, more square this way, for the surface area that I needed. We could not stand the product up and make it. So the height was kind of like, I don't care if it can do 200 millimeters or if it can do, in this case, 500 millimeters. It didn't really matter. It was like, I need this plate size so I can lay my product down and make really nice product for the client. and Bambu Labs doesn't have such a machine. So we sort of shopped around a lot, and we came down to just Elegoo and or the Cubic. And the Cubic, this refurbished one, which was very cheap to buy, was like, well, okay, let's try that, just see how it works. Back to the relationship with the Bambu Lab thing. Probably one of the things that's been pointed out over and over and over and just beaten to death was this whole idea about, you know, it's a multi-level, you know, millions of dollar company doing fantastic marketing all over the world. Why would they, you know, do something that might damage their sales, you know, create problems? And can answer that, and it was like, well, let me just give you an example. There will never be a can of Bud Light beer in this place, ever! Well, was that over the top? Probably. Yeah. The point was that corporations at any level can make, you know, some kind of serious damage and mistakes towards their customer base. The other one I was going to throw at you was HP. Good old HP. Yeah, they used to be king of the printing world for, you know, making documents, that sort of thing. Inkjet cartridges and problems started to arise when they updated their firmware. And this is a killer because the firmware update actually prevented the customer or the user that owned the HP printer from using generic type inkjet cartridges. And so what happened was it would just stop and not work until they put the proper HP, you know, cartridge in. And they did it. Okay, listen really closely. They did it, and their reason for it was for security reasons. Oh yeah. And you talk about somebody with again a multi-million dollar, billion-dollar corporation, and they pulled a stunt like that. So my point here is that Bambu Lab is not exclusive. They're not, you know, they've got so much money and they're so smart they would never, you know, do something that would upset their customers. Ha! Anybody will do it. I don't care if you're Coca-Cola. I don't care what, you know, company you are. Corporations, as they get really big, sometimes they can get stupid. Yeah, they could do some really bad numbers on them. The reason I have different machines, my machines are specialized to the various products that we have to put out for various client and customers. So that's one of the reasons. This is here, that's there. You know, I've got a little cheaty over here. I've got an SK1 that does specific jobs only. Also, I've got that piece of junk on the end there that I call it the LK Longer Pro clone, or I'm not sure what it is. It's an unknown, but it's just strictly a backup machine in case our other machine breaks down. Which brings me to the next point, I guess. I keep about 25 nozzles on hand for the machines, and not all these nozzles are the same size. This way, mostly the length, and so you have to kind of be aware of what the machine takes for a nozzle, and then order, you know, a dozen or so, and then just set them aside, because again, with a print farm or something, a nozzle jam sometimes is too expensive to screw around, so you just take the whole nozzle out, make sure that everything's cleaned out of the way, put another nozzle in, and go back to work. Like I said, print farming really changes a lot of things. Let's get back to this other thing with what's true, like situations like Bambu Lab. I was told when I got my first printer, and this is more than over 10 years ago now, and it was a CR10, it was early model. I was told back at that time that 3D printing was a lot of fun, it was a great hobby, whatever, but they would never be production machines. Yeah, because we have plastic extrusion. We don't need 3D printers, you know, so yeah. And then, yeah, what happened? Apparently, the person said that probably was the same one that said that cell phones would never be popular or something, you know. But, hey, there's a lot more going on. Thursday, I've got a show coming up. We are going to be reviewing, I believe, a welding machine because it came in here for review. And I like to play around with the MIG welders, the stick welders and all that. So we'll be taking a look at a really nice machine that's like pro level, I believe. So that's going to be interesting. And we need to get back to 3D printing too, of course. There's going to be lots more topics and discussions on that sort of thing. So I think we better call it a day because this is starting to run too long. Hey, thanks for checking in on us, and Please watch Coffee and Tools. Please like, share, subscribe, and ring the notice bell. We'll be back with more. Over and out.